All right, welcome into the Illini Inquirer Podcast. It's J Leman day, a few days late. Sorry, had a little getting old, Jay. Injuries.
Man, you okay, bud?
Got to get things fixed. It's just you get
Is it too much? Is it too much on the keyboard or what?
No, fantastically. I have been typing since like an hour after surgery, so
Okay.
Just a little trigger finger, probably early onset carpal tunnel from all the typing. But
So it is from the typing, but you can type.
I have no idea where it came from.
Okay,
Jay.
gotcha.
When you get towards 40, all of a sudden you get these ailments. You have no idea where they came from.
You do start
The
to get.
doctor asked me the same thing. She's like, when did you get this? I no idea.
Yeah, well, I would say that you do kind of get some of those old man tendencies. I'm waiting for the old man strength to come in. Like just put the couch on my back and like carry it in. But yeah, the thing is we've been covering. I mean, shoot, I know you're 2 or 3 years younger than me, but mid 2000s in the Illinois, era, and you've been going, 20 years strong now as a student and covering this. And want to just take a moment just to say thank you for all your coverage. What would Illini football coverage be like without Jared? Would there be a gaping hole? I mean, maybe somebody would fill it, but not sure like you, buddy.
I appreciate you. Well, it was a nice bounce back for Illinois football. And, we'll get into a bigger picture here, Jay, of you don't take clinching bowl games for granted around here, especially back-to-back. Hasn't happened in 14 years. But I think the story of that Rutgers win had to be that your defense gave you a chance, right? We thought the offense would just have to win this by itself. Rutgers wasn't great. Ethan Kaliakmanis wasn't great. But it was a nice bounce back for the defense. It just felt different, Jay. We'll dive into the film room a little bit later on. But what was different for you from Aaron Henry's defense of what he did and how they played?
Yeah, three things I think just jump right off the bat. One is they played more confident and they got some confidence early by getting, I think, a 3-and-out. I mean, not a 3-and-out. They stopped that first drive, which I think was like an 11-play drive. And they moved the ball some, but stopped them. And then got those 2 field goals rather than touchdowns. One after a sudden change turnover. So I think they played with confidence. I think it always starts with a mindset, and I think that's important. Number 2, you saw more classic 5-man fronts. I think that was a big change, and I think it was probably accelerated that Dylan Rosiak couldn't play. And you're a little bit thin at linebacker on who you feel good about, although I thought James Kreutz had one of his better games as an Illini, and I want to give him credit because I think he was improved. But I would say this, it feels like to put the best 11 on the field, and we had talked about this week previously, who are our best 11? How can we get them out there? It's 5 D linemen, on the field. When I say 5, I should say 3 D linemen, 2 outside linebackers that are going to rush the quarterback. And then a linebacker, would be Kreutz. Sometimes we saw Malachi Hood in there. And then 5 defensive backs in some sort of way. And it seemed like that's what they wanted to do. And then number 3 is they played more aggressive from a blitzing standpoint. And it's not always the blitzer that gets home. One time, JoJo Hayden showing blitz and Gabe Backus makes a sack, right? Another time, it is the blitzer. It's Matthew Bailey blitzing and disguising and coming late and then making a tackle for loss on the tailback, right? So I thought there was there was enough in there that you put some doubt in Ethan Kaliakmanis' mind. And once you have a little bit of doubt, you can see that come out in the efficiency and in the accuracy of a quarterback. I think one of the things that we forget about with Luke Altmyer is he's been good even when he hasn't been protected all that great, right? It usually rattles a quarterback. And so I'm not saying that was this game, but those are really the 3 things that I saw: confidence, the 5-man down front, and really picking and choosing the pressures that they bring. And, what I have to think about is when Brett said on Monday, last week, that is, that, hey, I looked at film on Sunday. On Monday morning, I was in there and I said, this is what I see, what I want to do in Rutgers. What do you see? I think that was verbiage of he had his hands in the game plan. I'm not sure he called the plays, but I don't imagine that he would probably do that with Barry Lunney. I think he's probably relatively, I wouldn't say surprised because they see the plays in practice, but he's like, oh yeah, I saw Barry do that in practice. Good to see that. Good to see that, Wildcat play for a touchdown. Okay, he got it done. I don't think that I don't think that Brett went in there and drew that up. I do think that Brett went in there and said, let's use Bailey more like Sidney Brown. Let's use, how do we get Gabe more one-on-one matchups? How do we do? I think that's more of the hands-on stuff that I would say. That was a long answer to your question.
No, it was great. And it hit on a lot of things that will peel off of here, Jay, because it was great that Brett did not say, I took over. Like I told Aaron what to do. He gave his coordinator some flowers, but it's clear they made some changes up front. I want to start with that because they shut down Rutgers' rushing attack, which is not a small thing. I mean, Antoine Raymond had been having a lot of success. That 5-man front, how did that play into it? And what I noticed is Gabe Akers was almost in like a wide 9 in this game a lot because of that 5. It seemed to just let him pin his ears back and get after it. So just against the run and then kind of lifting Gabe up to get him some opportunities. How did that 5-man front change that?
Well, first off, when you're playing a Shiano team, they always are able to run the ball well. I mean, Kyle Monungai, obviously with the Bears now, just had a big game. Was not a highly touted recruit out of high school and really became one of the better backs in the Big Ten because Shiano likes to do similar things of control the clock, play defense. It's been a little bit different style. Rutgers under Kirk Shiraka this year as opposed to other years. But this is not a running attack that's bad, okay? And an offensive line that had been able to move some people. I thought James Thompson played really well too. I thought James Thompson, and it all starts up front with guys like that. I think Kurt Neal played better than he has. I thought one of the most improved defensive linemen is Angelo McCullum. And sometimes he's had inconsistencies, had some hands to the face, but he's continued to pop. Okay. And you're right, when you have 3 down linemen and you have a wide body like James Thompson, and Tommy was in there as well, but James, it just takes up a ton of space. I don't know if you know how big these humans are when you actually go see them on the ground and when you're on the field. And I do believe that it allowed Gabe, who I think this year tried to make a shift to be more fast than powerful. He's always had great power, right? And I think with that shift, he was probably more comfortable in the interior last year with just more power. I think he still has that. But, okay, how can we make it so that he can use his speed as a real asset? I really liked the big-time move he got on that second sack that he had. Really, really good dip and lean. We talk about it. I call it the Von Miller lean. Von Miller probably known as the best lean of all defensive linemen, able to really almost get horizontal and still remain his balance and get around that horn. They call it the hoop drill, but he was able to do that. I know Angel McComb was close to getting that as well, but it was really Gabe's pressure. And that was because of some of his wide stance and the angle he's able to take to the quarterback, which is a little bit sharper, which kind of creates more of a two-way go for him. So I thought those adjustments helped, but ultimately it was an attitude up front. I really felt that they were we've talked about this, but they are very aggressive. I thought they played lower with better pad level than Rutgers. Again, these are all basic things. I know it's not earth-shattering analysis, but when you do these things in fundamental football and you do them consistently, you have a really good result in that most plays you're going to have you're going to get the better of it. So I always say people listen, there's no way when you're playing college football players that you're going to win every play. You got to win your fair share. And when you start winning 60, 70% of the plays against your one-on-one matchup, that's when you start having great defense.
All right, let's shift to the back now. Because they played about, I think it was 50-50 about man to zone. And before that, they've been running like 85 to 90% zone, which is a huge change for them. And Rutgers won some. KJ Duff won some. Ian Strong won some. But it just felt like there was a little bit more competitiveness from Illinois. The cornerbacks, 9 pass breakups in this game, some of that from the defensive front. But the way they used Matthew Bailey was reminiscent, as you said, of Sidney Brown. Just the games he was playing with Ethan Kaliak-Manis, because listen, Ethan is not as good as some of the quarterbacks they've played. He'd been playing incredibly well. He looked confused, Jay. He looked inaccurate. So what did Matthew Bailey, what they did in the coverage with disguising things, how did that impact Ethan Kaliak-Manis?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that it seems that Matthew Bailey is most comfortable playing closer to the line of scrimmage rather than farther than the line of scrimmage. He's a hybrid linebacker, and that's not a bad thing. Like that, you want to play those things you want to play your players to their strengths, right? What I really saw though too is we were so much more handsy and reminiscent kind of that 2022 team. Not only when the ball was in the air, but before the snap, we were handsy. And KJ Duff's a good receiver, big guy, really big guy, and the handsy. And there wasn't a lot of panic, right? I mean, we felt like they were poised, and when they got beat, they were able to make either the catch very difficult or get a pass breakup. A couple of those pass breakups that Cox and Juice Clark had. I didn't think that Juice Clark or Cox played great at Washington. I thought they played well against Rutgers. And that's really, really good to see, right? I think we're still struggling at the nickel position, to be honest. I mean, that some of the plays are, and that is going to be exploited until you fix it. It's on tape. People know that our starter's out in that position. It's documented now for 5 games that's how you're going to make plays. And we're still giving up plays in that position. But I do think on the outside, it's been good. It's also been hard that we've been very shallow at cornerback, and so there's a lot of different things there. But overall, I thought they were more handsy, more aggressive, got better jams on people than they had. And it wasn't just about keeping the ball in front. It was about let's stay in phase with the receiver and have a chance, make Cadillac Manis throw it into a tight window. And ultimately he failed. He skipped a couple balls. He airmailed a couple balls. He was not nearly as accurate as the guy across from him, his counterpart, Luke Altmyer.
Yeah. And, they kind of made the refs decide whether to throw some flags, Jay. Like it's kind of like Washington did. Like sometimes if they're not, make them throw the flag. And I thought there was a couple plays that they did that. And it just reminded me a little bit of what this secondary had been.
Yeah. What I have seen recently, and this is not just in Illinois games, this is college football. If the receiver is not straining for the football and kind of passively gets knocked down or doesn't make a concerted effort to go up and get the ball, it's usually a no call. And I would say in the past, sometimes it was more, hey, there's contact and there's a flag. You have got to make an effort for the football. And I will also say this, that if the defender makes an effort for the football, and this is most of the time been the case, they're less likely to get called for pass interference. I think what people don't understand is there is no face guarding in college football. That's a difference than pro football. Pro football, there is face guarding. You don't have to look back for the ball in college football, but it does give a signal to the referee that you are playing the ball and not disrupting the man. But if you're not going to strain for the football as a receiver, you can get mugged as a receiver and nobody will call anything. So it's key that you strain for the ball.
So to wrap up the conversation on defense, Jay, what do you hope carries over for Aaron Henry's unit against Maryland, Wisconsin, Northwestern? These aren't great offenses. I mean, one of the things is you just didn't play an elite offense the other day, but this was an offense that had some dangerous things and probably better than the 3 offenses you play the rest of the year. So what do you want to carry over?
Well, number one, the ability to get off the field on 3rd down. I think that was a game changer for our offense. You saw when you can get the ball back to Luke Altmyer, good things happen, right? I mean, he changed the game when we got a couple stops, scoring with 2:04 left in the first half, then getting a stop and scoring again, and you open that changed the game and opened it up, right? So I think getting off the field on 3rd down. I think if you continue to play with that confident mindset, we didn't have any turnovers, okay? But I do think if you continue to get pressure on the quarterback, you will get a turnover or 2, right? And some of that's luck. In Washington, they probably should have had 1 or 2 turnovers. They didn't have them. Yeah. It didn't execute it. So I think that will happen, but it's the pressure. But it all stems from your ability to have success on early downs. If they can stop the run like they stopped it, you become very predictable offensively. Some of the stuff that happened to our offense earlier in the year. And that's when I think that they're able to really dial up some stuff to get Gabe free and really pin guys back. And then they know defensively what we can run and what can expect and what routes are going to occur. I also think it helps that these quarterbacks, Cadillac Manis was not that mobile, right? We've played some more mobile quarterbacks, Maeva and obviously Damon Williams mobile. That helped as well. Now, Malik Washington, is it Washington? Yeah. Malik Washington. He was, I think that's a receiver's name too for Northwestern. All these names,
Yeah.
Go into my head. He can run, but doesn't look to run. He's looking to throw the football, right? And so all these things kind of play into it, but really the third down success is the key.
I do have one more defensively. I can't not ask the All-American linebacker about James Kurtz. I did think it was one of his best games as an Illini to step up, and with Dylan Rosiak out, we saw that from him late last year. And I was one of them thinking maybe Grant Bierman gets some reps just to see what he can do. But James played well enough. I thought Malachi Hood was solid. So what did you see from those guys?
Well, I would say this with James, he's always been a really solid special teams player. He's always been really good at that. And then we've seen him play on sub packages. And if you would have asked me 2 years ago, would he be a full-time starter now? Yes, I would say yes, he would have. He hasn't made the plays on a consistent level to kind of be the guy out there. That's just the bottom line. But what I saw here was I saw an ability when I see a linebacker early on, and every young linebacker's like this, it's like, let me just go hit the hole. Bam, and yeah, you get your gap, but somebody cuts back and you can't be an eraser on that defense, right? Like a linebacker, when you're off the ball, you can't just say, I got my gap, we're good. That's great for a defensive lineman because he's on the ball. You've got to be an eraser of mistakes. A good linebacker will make up for all that. And what I saw was more patience from James Kurtz. I saw an ability to, hey, shuffle. Okay, I stay square. I can fall back if the running back cuts back and get in on the tackle. Hey, I don't have to trigger that fast. Hey, I'm a tall guy. I'm not getting my legs knocked out and cut all the time. I'm playing with my hands. And so I saw more patience. I saw more perception. I know what's going on. I know what my role is in the framework of the defense. And it's not uncommon for a young linebacker. It's easier to play in a sub package. You got 3 or 4 calls. Hey, I do this on this call. I blitz here. I cover this guy on this play. And so I felt him become a more patient and complete linebacker when he was playing in this game against Rutgers. And ultimately, I think it really helped the defense because when you have a good linebacker, you can erase a lot of mistakes.
Could be important experience too for him if Dylan Rosiak misses any more time, because Dylan Rosiak gone after this season. The long-awaited return of Illinois basketball is officially over, with both the Illini men's and women's basketball teams returning to action in State Farm Center this week. Be sure to gear up to support your Fighting Illini basketball teams this year with the official fan store, the Fighting Illini Game Day Spirit. They're the one-stop shop for Fighting Illini merchandise in Champaign and have something for every Illini basketball fan. From the brand new Illinois basketball t-shirts and sweatshirts to Final Four merchandise from the Flying Illini and famous 0405 team, they've got something for you. And with all the newcomers on both the men's and women's teams, be sure to check out their selection of men's and women's Nike NIL jerseys and support your favorite player. You can visit them in Campustown at the corner of 6th and Green, or in Champaign right next to State Farm Center at the corner of Neal and Kirby. Or if you're at the game, check out their 4 merchandise stands around State Farm Center. For our audience not local to CU, you can shop with them 24/7 at GameDaySpirit.com. Be sure to follow them on social media at GameDaySpirit to see all their new arrivals this basketball season. Also, mark your calendars for the return of their famous stadium sale on Saturday, December 6th from 9 to 1. Game Day Spirit, where Illini fans shop. One of my favorite things about waking up in the morning is coffee, and it's even better if you get it from Columbia Street Roastery. And the best thing to do around the holidays is give coffee. And they got a great way of doing that. Columbia Street Roastery, if you go to csrcoffee.com, they have a subscription box that you can get. Each month, Columbia Street sends you freshly roast coffee of 3 different half-pound bags. You can get from their flavored coffee box, their dark roast, their medium roast, their decaf box, and you can get a subscription for $25 per month. What a great way and what a great gift to give. Or if you want to get something for yourself, go to csrcoffee.com. Check out all their fall flavors, all their great brews, and they also have tea and hot cocoa. So go check them out at csrcoffee.com. And our listeners, you get 10% off your first order if you use the code GOILLINI2025. Again, go to csrcoffee.com. Get 10% off your first order with the code GOILLINI2025. You get free shipping on orders over $45. That's all at Columbia Street Roastery at csrcoffee.com. All right, let's talk about the offense. Can we start here? Because I don't know if it gets enough pub. I think the offensive line is playing pretty well. Like the first 4 games, really disappointing, Jay. But I feel like the last 5 games, they've really taken a step forward. I even felt the Washington game, if they were just given a chance to lean on them in the run game, they could have, but they went down too much. So what have you seen from the offensive line to kind of turn this around? Bad start.
Yeah, you basically ran for over 200. You threw for over 200. It probably could have been more if you had more time and you really wanted to pour it on. So one, I will say this is I always go back to leverage, and I know people don't think that's a big thing, but we're playing a lot lower than we played before. Like I felt like we were high early in the year. We kind of got bounced around some. Number two, we've limited negative plays much more. I don't think we had a negative play until maybe the third quarter or something. I think there was one on Aiden Lawfrey run. And we're handling movement and stunts from the defense much better than we did initially, right? Why is that? I couldn't give you a why, but we are doing it. I also think all three of those running backs are probably playing better. Maybe Khalil Valentine's kind of taking a step back since he was really hot, I would say September and October. But I think Caden and I think Aiden are kind of hitting their stride. So I think it combines. And then you throw in the ability to run with Luke Altmyer, which it felt like, and this coaches have not said this, so this is just totally me. It felt like we got 4 games left. It's not like we got 12 games left. We can run them a little bit more.
Can I give you a stat?
Right.
First 7 games, 13 designed runs for Luke Altmyer, 11 in the last 2. So yes, you are right. It's like, okay, we got him through October. Now let's unleash this guy.
All right, yeah. So and they know it can run. I'd still love to see him like slide or go out of bounds more. I just feel like he could do that. I know he's a tough kid and doesn't want to do that, but the quarterback run. And I'll go through this for the fans. I've talked about this before. When you have a quarterback that can run, it takes the defender away because you have to respect that. You have to, put that in your numbers and say, okay, I have to account for him. So when he runs,
like Rutgers didn't.
They never accounted for him. It was open. It was open. The quarterback, the zone read where he just pulls it was there. Quarterback draws were there. Not a great job containing him on a couple plays. He could have ran for the first touchdown instead of throwing it to Caden Fagan. So not a great job on contain, but I think that opens up a lot for the other running backs. If you've been watching Illinois football a long time, gosh, who was the quarterback with Reggie Corbin? AJ
Bush.
AJ Bush, right?
Reggie Corbin is not quite the running back without AJ Bush, right?
Right. So, and I think we led the Big Ten in rushing that league with 4 or 5 wins, right? I mean, it
was 1 or 2. They were 1 or 2.
We were running the ball, right? We couldn't do much else. And some of those linemen went on to be pretty good linemen, I will say. But that's what it does, right? Reggie Corbin wasn't the same without AJ Bush running as well. You get that extra extra man off the edge. And I think it just makes you, as a linebacker, I'm always looking for certainty to pull my trigger and go. But you can't do that, talked about this with James Kreutz, until you know where the ball has declared. And if the ball is behind the line of scrimmage, the ball has not declared what gap it's going to, right? And so I'm always trying to say, okay, well, is it the zone or is the quarterback keeping it? What are the linemen telling me? Do I follow the lineman? Now I'm getting a false pull, which is a pull in which the ball's going the opposite direction of a pull. And so it puts uncertainty. One of the great things that Barry Lunny does is almost more than dialing up plays for Hank Beatty is the motion and deception of Hank Beatty and what that causes to the eyes of linebackers and safeties that he's not even the key guy. He's just a total decoy. But that stuff messes with you when you try to see it. You might see it from the stands or on TV and say, oh, that's obviously fake. But try looking through a bunch of linemen and you see flashes of orange go this way and you see guys go this way and, oh, wait, I got to see the ball. And, oh, the quarterback can run too. And what am I looking at? The picture gets really, really hazy, right? As Brett says, he said a great quote, might have been after this, is the more you know prior to the snap, the faster you can play after the snap. It was like a revelation to me. I realized that because I was slow, I had to know way more before the snap for everybody. And that's why I was able to play faster than running a 4.840, right? Yeah. So it's a great way to explain it. And so all those things are happening. And when you throw the quarterback run in there, you have a guy that the defense knows, hey, alert, where's 80 on the field? We got to know where 80's at on the field. We got to know, is he in the backfield? Is he motioning, right? You have all these things. It really creates a lot of confusion. And those are those little niches, those little things that create gaps that can make a 5-yard play go to 25 yards. So that was a long-winded answer and a revelation for me as I listen to Brett Beal.
The Hank Beatty decoy on the Caden Fagan first touchdown. It was clear. Like it was beautiful how he drew that up. I want to ask you about
that. And a couple of times they picked their own guys, right? I mean, They knew that guy was going to motion over, right? When Beatty left, shows that they're in man, number one, and number two, takes away a contained player on that side, and then that guy ran right into Caden Fagan's guy, right? So they picked themselves. Totally legal. That's what you want to do. Not legal to pick it with an Illinois player, but totally legal if you make them run into each other. Perfect.
Speaking of pick, nice one by Alexander Kapka-Jones. It didn't get called. So for
yes.
It worked well.
Yes. The only one better I saw than that was we're 14-14 against Ohio State, 2007. And we're going into score with maybe 1 minute left in the half against Ohio State. It's a touchdown by Brian Gamble. Go look at that play. Aurelius Ben on a crosser route, as Mike Loxley loves to run crosser routes against the man coverage in the red zone. Aurelius Ben obliterated the Ohio State defensive back. So much so, I think Aurelius didn't play the second half because he had a concussion, I think. And so, anyway, this has been happening for years, but one of the greatest picks ever was Aurelius Ben just destroyed someone.
The other thing about Luke's running ability, I agree with you. It opens up a lot for their other backs. Like, just puts the linebackers in conflict, but he's got some acceleration, Jay. Like he's getting out there in some of those spots. And is he a 4.7 guy? Because I mean, he feels like he could be under that. Like he's got some real acceleration.
I was going to throw this out here. Yeah. As a guy who actually ran a time 4.7 at one point in my life, I know it's shocking. If I could do that, I think he's a 4.5 guy at the combine. I really do. I think he can run high 4.5s. I really do. I think he trains for it and does run 4.5, and we just never really let him unleash it. He's that valuable to the team, and I think he's a better thrower than runner. So it's not like, okay, we just run. Right. But man, he's got really, really good feet. I probably wouldn't put him up there with Bush or Shieldhouse when he could really move, but and Juice was more of a power runner and ran a lot in that offense. But man, he's unique and he picks his moments really good. He's way more instinctive as a runner than I think people give him credit for. He has the ability to make people kind of miss and real shifty. Between him and Beatty, those guys are the most unassuming, slippery guys out on the field, and you'd think they'd be easier to tackle, but they're not.
I didn't want to overshoot it. I didn't mean to belittle him at 4.7. I think
he's a 4.5 guy for real. I really do. You're not belittling him. I'm just knowing what if you can train for a couple weeks and get down, and I could get down to 4.7s. He would burn me in a race. So
as Rod Smith say, not an oak tree. You
not
mentioned
not an oak tree. That was Brandon Peters. Brandon Peters could run better than you thought he could.
Yeah. Barry Lunny was in his bag again, Jay. He's a really good offensive coordinator. Just what stands out to you about the exotics he throws in to combine with, just simple runs and passes that they do?
What I like about Barry is I think there's never a game where I don't feel like he stays true to what is right for this team personnel-wise and in what Brett wants. And I'm not saying that Brett dictates what to call, but there's definitely a style of play that Brett wants to run. And he's, to his credit, he's evolved past just let's smash mouth Wisconsin or Arkansas stuff, right? But what I like about Barry is a couple things. Number one, there are areas in the field where I feel he does an exceptional job of trying to make a play. So I like to call the alumni zone 40, in between the 40s. I saw Justin Bowick come in that period. And the first drive, I was like, there's a Bowick package. And of course they had it dialed up for, a deep out to Bowick for a 15-yard gain, right? To get an explosive play, to get more yards. So that players over plays. How do I get Justin Bowick the ball? How do we get Hudson Clement the ball when we win it? How do I use Beatty not only as a playmaker, but I use him as a decoy, right? How do I use the quarterback run at the right time, not when everybody thinks it's coming? And then in the red zone, I've loved the creativity. We talked about the Caden Fagan run already. We talked about him not being too proud to rip off of, and I saw the podcast. I also saw the thing, rip off the play from Ty Simpson. I saw that play. I was watching Washington, Illinois, and I was watching South Carolina, Alabama 2 weeks ago. And I saw that play and really creative. And it wasn't even open, but you have a quarterback like Luke, able to make things happen. I also like, hey, how do I get Hank Beatty open? And we've seen this a couple times on the 2, maybe feeling like he can't run the ball in there because of some issues on the short yardage that we've had. We've seen a couple creative things. I think about the Duke game, the pass to Colin Dixon, right? Where he just kind of walked in because they had numbers there with motion. Had 4 receivers out there, motioned somebody back. Colin Dixon a couple times on the goal line has been open. We got Hank Beatty open as well. He's always thinking players over plays. How do I get it to my playmakers? How do I give them success? And the only thing that I would say that, and he remedied this year, this game, is sometimes they haven't started that fast this year. Last year, I remember there was a period where his 15-play script to start was great. I mean, they were hitting on everything, right? But he has been really good in the red zone. They've gotten 7 points as opposed to 3 every time they were in the red zone last game. And so I think those things are what make him a really, really good coordinator. And most coordinators are like this. You never feel like Barry's rattled out there. So most good offensive guys are like that. And he's definitely like that. And to have him and Luke right now, it's really a treat, along with a veteran offensive line. We've really got to pinch ourselves because it's been a while since we have an offense like this that we can enjoy. And you feel you got a really good, competent coordinator.
What would it mean for you to see Hudson Clement have, kind of that breakout game? Felt like it'd been brewing for a while here, Jay.
Yeah. I would say this. I've looked at the contested catches. You think about that big one he had against Ohio State that, maybe could have got you in the field goal range. You think about maybe some of the stuff in Washington where he probably would tell you he didn't play his best, but maybe lit a fire under him. And I think it comes down to a mental thing. Like we know a guy can hit free throws in basketball. Sometimes you just miss his free throws just mentally. We know guys are good tacklers, but sometimes you just get in a rut and you're missing tackles. It becomes a mental thing. We know that the ability there is there. He caught 50 balls last year at West Virginia. I mean, it's there. I think it's just a confidence thing. Does he have another year possibly?
Yes.
So I think you could see him be a Hank Beatty-esque receiver next year. He reminds me that he has that ability and those kind of hands. And so it's adds so much to it when you can have him, Beatty, and Colin Dixon on the field together. You feel like you got 3 guys that you feel really good about throwing the football to.
It's never too soon to plan for Super Bowl season, and installing a Tushy Bidet makes bathroom visits so much more comfortable for your guests and your pipes. I know this ad can make some people uncomfortable, they'll laugh about it, but I'm telling you guys, installing a Tushy Bidet makes every bathroom visit so much better. Never feel cleaner in your life. It is an absolute game changer. Tushy is the everyday luxury bidet that instantly transforms your bathroom habits and the bottom health for life. 99% of people who wash with Tushy Wave feel cleaner and fresher after going to the bathroom. And I'm not a handyman, guys, but installing the Tushy Bidet took me about 10 or 15 minutes. And I'm telling you, it is a game changer for you. Put it in my bathroom, downstairs bathroom, and it's fantastic. So I'm telling you, you need to give the Tushy Bidet a try. And for a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use code Illini at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com with promo code Illini. Yes, for a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use code Illini at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com with promo code Illini.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Jay, this was kind of a reminder. I mean, I felt good about Illinois going into this game, but the defense, at least being competitive, makes you feel a lot better than you did after the Washington game. You're going to be favored probably by double digits in most of these games. Northwestern, we'll see, but it's a home game, so that could be a tricky game. What do you think of these 3 games ahead after what you saw against Rutgers?
Well, one, I think it's an opportunity for Illinois No, we always got to zoom out. Yeah. We're probably not going to be a playoff team. I think there's maybe a 1% chance if all chaos breaks loose that we could sneak in or something like that. But 9-3 is really good. I just want to go through the teams that I think we're better than. I don't want to say teams that we haven't played yet, but on paper, it looks like we're better than Wisconsin. It looks like we're better than. It looks like we're better than Maryland. Those games have to be played in Northwestern, but we're better than Purdue. That's something we haven't been able to say. We're better than Michigan State. We're probably better than Nebraska and Minnesota, based on what we've seen. We're probably right there on par with Iowa. I think Iowa defensively has the edge. We probably have the edge offensively, and it's not uncommon because Ferentz is a Hayden Fry guy and Brett Bielema is a Hayden Fry guy, and you can kind of see similar DNAs. That they're getting there a little bit different ways. We're better than Penn State. I think we're right there with Michigan. I really do. I think we can play with Michigan. I think we're actually right there with Washington. We had a bad game defensively. I think you play that game at home. Weather's okay. I think you could win 5 out of 6 out of 10, but they're a good team. We're better than UCLA. We're better than USC. We're better than a lot of teams. Like I still put us in that, probably that top third of the Big Ten. We might be at number 7, how you shake it out. But man, that's progress. That's a lot of progress for a program. And think about it. There's a ton of programs that, what is Penn State? 0-5 in the Big Ten or something like that. They have a $50 million buyout or something that they got to take care of. They got to go get a coach. It sounds like they've already gotten 2 extensions for coaches they were going after. That's me saying that. I think the Signetti and Rule were probably that.
Well, and Jay, I was doing this yesterday. I was putting together just the records in the Big Ten since 2022. Of course, that's an easy number for Illinois since that was the year they kind of started turning things around. And it's pretty amazing to see how far Illinois has gone and to see how far Wisconsin, Michigan State, and Purdue have fallen. Like you are changing places with those, and I agree with you. The teams around them, it's Iowa right above them. With winning percentage, Minnesota right below them. Those are some of the most consistent programs that are usually top half of the Big Ten every year. So, yes, it's a disappointment that Illinois might not get to the college football playoff and reach that ultimate goal.
Right.
But this could still be a phenomenal season for Illinois that solidifies them as that second-tier Big Ten team.
100%. And other than Indiana, we're competing with legacy college football programs. I mean, Ohio State is a legacy college football program. Oregon, with over the last 30 years with the injection of Nike money, is that. USC is that. Michigan and Penn State are that, right? So we're competing with legacy brands. And Washington has a great history. I mean, won national championship under Don James. I mean, so these are programs that are legit programs that may have a little bit more, but they do have more financial backing than that. I mean, those are programs in which, Illinois basketball, I always consider a top 3, top 4 program in the Big Ten. And those are kind of, we've never been that in football. And obviously there's 18 teams now. So I just really like where we're at. So I always want to I want to say that because I know you can get it's turned into, we talk about this playoff or bust, you could be buyout you at Auburn and fire Gus Malzahn and fire Brian Harsin and now fire Hugh Freeze and now say you're going to get Lane Kiffin. And I mean, just like, but you're not, right? And so it's like, you could be in a lot worse situation, like all over the place. Let's just be real. But you look at these next 3 games, and if they play Brett Bielema ball, they'll win these games. I really think if our defense was middle of the road, 8th, 9th, 10th in the Big Ten, would be a playoff team. If they play middle of the road, we're going to win 3 games. I have that much confidence in our offense. It's going to be very difficult for a team to hold our offense under 30 points in the next 3 games. I really believe that if you look at it. Now, sometimes the game can go slower and they eat up clock and whatnot, but I think you can expect 24 to 35 points from our offense. The defense has to get a couple third down stops or turnovers, and I think you'll be able to beat Maryland. Wisconsin, that's a must win to me. That's a team that's just down in the dumps, right? Even though it's at Wisconsin, I know it's kind of, Brett has a lot of history there. Northwestern, I'm worried about. There's been many games we're supposed to beat Northwestern. That's well documented. Braun will have them ready to play, and they tend to hang around. So you got to kind of squash them early.
All right. So people will ask me, you got to enjoy the rest of Luke Altmyer and Barry Lunny as you have them here. The next steps for Brett Bielema, say they win the next 3, they go to a great bowl game, have a competitive game against an SEC game. How do you lift that program up again, Jay? I mean, because you got to replicate the quarterback, which is difficult, but for people wanting that more, to be in the college football playoff race late in November, how does Brett Bielema get him there?
Well, I think you have to look at you think that Barry Lunny's going to move on, okay? So you got to go get a great coordinator. Now he likes to usually promote from within. I think Justin Stepp's done a tremendous job at receivers. I don't know if he wants to be a coordinator, or if he would go with
plays. Never called
with what?
He's never called plays.
Never called plays, and he probably would want to go with Lunny somewhere. I mean, Lunny kind of handpicked him to come in here from South Carolina. So I don't see that, and I don't see Bart Miller moving on from a line coach to a coordinator, right? Thad Ward reminds me of he's a running back coach. Disher's coaching tight ends and special teams. Here's a name I'll throw out for Illinois fans: Paul Christ. Got a lot of ties to Brett. Has coached with Brett before. Knows what it takes to win in the Big Ten. Would he take a coordinator job working with Brett? I'm not sure. But I'm sure Brett has plenty of contacts to find. But Paul Christ had it going on at Wisconsin, running the football and throwing the football for a while there. You look at his winning percentage at Wisconsin, actually very, very good. I know it didn't fall apart like it fell apart on Fickle. He was still probably a winning team, maybe 500 his last year. I know he got fired after that Illinois game. So there's that. I think the Aaron Henry situation you've got to figure out, because he could have a good next 3 games. But is Aaron Henry your guy long-term? Do you think you can play your best defense? I think that's going to be a tough discussion with Brett. I think there's some fans that are probably said, we want to move on, we want next. As Steve Sarkisian would say, you always want to fire somebody, but who are you going to hire? He was talking about head coaches. I think it's the most popular guy on the team is usually the backup quarterback, except at Illinois because they really like the quarterback, right? But nobody knows the situation on the defense better than Brett and Aaron Henry. And Brett has been around long enough to know what the right decision is. This is why he gets paid the big bucks to make these kind of decisions, right? I do think, though, it does come down to players. We've got to get a few more playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Does Xavier Scott come back for a 5th year? That's a big if. I'm sure they'll put a package together that will be enticing. I don't know if it'll be enough. Gabe's done. James Thompson is done. Probably your 2 best defensive linemen. Do I think you're developing some? I think Joe Barnes is playing better. I think McComb's playing better. Yes. Do I think we're going to need some more players on the defensive side to make more plays? Yes. So where do you get that? JUCO? Do you get that in the portal? What happens? And of course, the quarterback situation. That's probably the biggest question. You think Ethan Hampton will be gone, so you have no game.
He's got 1 more year.
He's got 1 more year. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know if he I never know these trades for kids. So he came over with 2 years eligibility.
Yeah. So from what I've heard with Ethan Hampton, started at Northern, obviously won the game at Notre Dame. That was mostly on the ground. He adds a physicality in the running game. He's not the passer Luke is, but I've heard they like him as a passer more than they thought they would. And then Carson Boyd, do you throw a redshirt freshman to the fire? I don't know about that. Jay, my thought is you have to look in the portal. After what you had at the quarterback position, how could you not? Because without Luke Altmyer, you might make bowls the last 2 years with a solid replacement level quarterback, but you're not winning the games you have. So I don't think it's a slight to any of the guys they have now. It's just with the sell you have, with what your quarterback has been. Art Sikowski's a heck of a recruiter. Brett Bielema sells himself with the offensive line and run game. I think you got to look.
Well, one thing you got to think about too is what players do you get by hiring a coordinator? So I'm going to mess his name up in my bad. Orlando Antigua.
Yeah.
When you get him as a assistant coach for basketball, you feel like you get a couple of recruits.
You get Tommy Ivasic and Will Riley, right?
Right. You feel like you get like there's a relationship there, and he seems to have Dominican ties and everything, right? you wonder if it's a package deal with, hey, you interview the coordinator and say, okay, what relationships do you have with quarterbacks that you feel like you could get one guy here? I think that's the discussions we're going in, right? It's like, all right, who's a guy that you know that you've recruited or that's a second teamer here or that we could pay something that you feel like in your system would excel? I think that's a big question because we can talk about a bunch of issues, but if quarterback's an issue, you have to stop there, right?
And Jay, like a
part.
Big Ten starting job for a school that just produced Tommy DeVito and Luke Altmyer, like you're going to have to spend some money, but you could find the next Luke Altmyer who's the second quarterback somewhere behind a stud starter and give him an opportunity to compete with Ethan Hampton and Carson Boyd.
I mean, the way it panned out, right, that's a great point, was we were going after Hudson Card and Luke Altmyer.
Yeah.
At that time, the general vibe, because Hudson Card had played at Texas had been named, that you'd want Card and Purdue beat us out because they brought an air raid guy in and Graham Harrell and kind of sold that bag of goods. That didn't end up well for Hudson Card. Well, Luke, was actually behind a really good first-round quarterback in Jackson Dart, right?
Good in the NFL too.
Yeah, who's good in the NFL as well. So you're like, okay, hindsight is good. And Luke's been a leader. He's been loyal. He could have gone to Tennessee. He's done everything you've asked him to really do. I don't think you could ask for a better hit in the portal that way. So is there probably somebody out there? Yes. I mean, shoot, Trinidad Chambliss for Ole Miss was at Pittsburgh D2, right?
Yeah, Pittsburgh State,
right? I mean, you're like, so there's guys out there that you're like, okay. Or is there a second teamer out there that you're like, that's sitting behind Arch Manning at Texas, that if Arch Manning doesn't go pro or doesn't transfer, I'm not going to play. Should I go?
Ferris State.
I'm sorry, not Pittsburgh State. I get mixed up. Thank you for checking on that for me.
No, but there's good quarterbacks sitting behind guys who are really great right now. So
sure.
And that was Luke Altmyer's story. So, and some of those guys are going to have to pay a lot. Some of those guys you might not, just because they need the opportunity to start at some point. So I think you got to look. Like you can save a lot of money by just elevating the guys on the inside, but they know better than anybody else how good those guys are and where they want to roll as starters.
I mean, it's such a critical position in college football as well, right? Because it's like, if you don't have a quarterback, you really don't have a chance. There's been times where we've held our breath if we can complete like a 15-yard pass at Illinois. And that hasn't been the case with Luke. You have confidence. He's got 7 or 8 comebacks in the fourth quarter. Whether you can match Luke or not, that's probably a tall mountain to climb. But you do feel like you have a good story to share that we can develop quarterbacks. And look what we did with the last transfer we did.
Auburn added to the mix. This is a crazy carousel, Jay.
Oh my gosh. I mean, again, Auburn they see themselves as like, well, we won a national championship with Cam Newton, so we should be, we won the kick 6 game. So we should, like, they're a middle of the road SEC team. I mean, maybe one of the bottom half SEC teams. And I'm just kind of like, now Shane Beamer I'm hearing might be like, I mean, he was like a darling right beforehand, like after last year, he might be let go. There's a lot of different things going on. I'm just like, it's incredible to me. You look at, I know Lane Kiffin's going to get paid either way, if he's at LSU, if he's at Florida, if he's at Ole Miss, whatever it is. But you look at all these jobs and you're like, did these schools shoot themselves in the foot by doing it so early that you have, if you're Penn State, you've gotten Signetti an extension, you've gotten Matt Rule an extension, although it's kind of a fake extension.
Yeah,
like
not
2
that
years.
much buyout.
Yeah, 2 years. It's not bad. And then now you've got LSU in the mix, which I think might be the best job even over Penn State, because they have the ability. We saw the kind of roster. You won a national championship under Coach O. Enough said. Okay, you can bring some players to LSU. You won a national championship under Les Miles. You won a national championship under Nick Saban. They've had a lot of different coaches win national championships there since 2000, and they can get players. You're right in the South. You're next to Texas. There's a big fan base there. I think it's a premier job.
Awesome. Well, J Leman, you're the goods man. We'll catch up next week leading into the back half or back 3 games of the schedule. Appreciate you, man.
You got it, bud.